All right, welcome in everyone. Get ready because today we're doing a deep dive into these weird drone sightings that have been popping up all over the place.
We're going to be looking at all sorts of stuff, news articles, social media posts, government statements even. We want to help you guys figure out what's actually going on.
Yeah, separate fact from fiction. Because, I
Yeah.
mean, have you seen some of this stuff online? It's getting pretty wild out there.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. 'Cause it's not just about drones, you know? There's this whole other layer of public safety, privacy, even like international relations. Really interesting stuff.
Okay, so let's just start with, like, the basics. When did all of this even begin? When did these sightings first start?
So mid-November is when we started seeing those initial reports. Most of them seem to be clustered in New Jersey.
And then from there, just kind of, like, exploded.
Yeah. Spread up and down the East Coast, New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut. Then we started seeing reports from Virginia, even Ohio.
It's like they just kind of appeared out of nowhere, and then boom, everywhere. So the drones themselves, are we talking about like those little ones you can get at the store, or is this something totally different?
Oh, that's what's so interesting. A lot of the witnesses are describing these things as way bigger than your average hobby drone. Some reports even say they're like car size.
Car size. Whoa, okay. That's not just some kid messing around in their backyard.
Exactly. And then you've got these reports of formations flying for hours at a time. That level of sophistication, you're not going to get that with just some off-the-shelf drone.
So if it's not someone just kind of, messing around, who is it? I mean, that's what everyone's freaking out about, right?
And that's where the official responses get kind of interesting, because at first the Pentagon was basically like, nah, it's routine, happens all the time over bases. But then they kind of admitted that they were frustrated because they don't really have the authority to investigate anything that happens off base.
So they're saying it's no big deal, but also they have no idea what's going on.
Pretty much, yeah. Not exactly the most reassuring message.
Definitely not. And then the FBI jumps in. They're asking for info from the public.
Right, and then they come out saying that a lot of the tips they got were just people misidentifying things. Planes, other stuff they were seeing in the sky, not actually drones.
But wait, so are they saying everyone's just seeing things? Some of these reports are super specific, though.
It's a good question. I mean, could some sightings be misidentified? Sure, probably. But with this many reports, this consistently, something's up.
Yeah, you got to figure there's something to it. And it's like the more the officials are quiet about it, the more people are going to speculate online.
Oh, absolutely. Social media is going crazy right now. You've got the alien theories, the government cover-up theories.
Honestly, that's kind of the fun part, right?
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what's really going on.
For sure. It's captivating. But gotta remember, not everything online is true. Gotta be critical about what you're reading.
Especially with something like this. So much uncertainty flying around.
Exactly. Gotta sift through it all. Figure out those facts. Get rid of the fiction. That's what we're here to do, right?
All right, so we've got these mystery drones. The government's not really saying anything, and everyone's kind of on edge.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here? What's the next step in our investigation?
I think we got to take a closer look at some of the details, right? Some of those reports that seem more credible, see if there are any patterns, any clues that stand out.
Sounds good to me. Let's dive into it, see what we can find.
So, I'm sure you've seen them, all those theories about these drones. Everyone's got an idea.
Oh, yeah. It's wild out there. I mean, people are blaming everything, the Russians, aliens. I even saw someone say it's like time travelers.
Right. It's crazy. But I think it kind of shows us, like, how vulnerable we are to this new tech.
Yeah, it feels like tech is always way ahead of, the rules and stuff.
It's totally true, right? What used to be just for the military or like super secret companies, now it's drones are cheap, anyone can get them, and they're getting more and more powerful.
And that's scary, right? I mean, think about it. Someone could use that for something really bad.
Exact. That's the whole dilemma, right? How do we stay safe, but also not have cameras on us everywhere?
It's a tough balance.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to feel safe, but I don't want to be, like, constantly watched.
Totally. And this whole thing with the drones, it really makes you think about that, If someone can fly a bunch of drones over, like, important places and nobody knows who it is, that's kind of messed up.
Yeah, it's a little unsettling. And then the government's not really helping, right? They're all vague and saying different things.
That's the other thing, right? When they're not clear, people just start making up their own explanations.
And that's where the conspiracy theories come in.
Exactly. We want to make sense of things. That's just how our brains work. So when we don't have answers, we kind of invent them, even if they're, not totally realistic.
So, okay, how do we deal with that? How do we, like, learn about this stuff without getting sucked into all the crazy stuff?
It's a good question. I think the key is to be like a really smart reader, you know? Don't just believe everything you see. You got to look at who's saying it. Is there any proof? Does it sound way too crazy to be true?
It's kind of like being a detective, right?
Yeah.
You got to find the clues and figure out what really happened.
That's a great way to put it. And even if we never find out, like, for sure who's flying these drones, just asking the questions, thinking about it, that's important too, right? It makes us think harder about stuff.
Yeah, it's like a puzzle. We might not get the whole picture, but we're still learning along the way.
Exactly. And it makes us think about the bigger picture, you know? All this tech changing so fast, what does that mean for us?
So even if we don't get all the answers, it's still good to think about it, try to figure it out.
Absolutely. Stay curious, keep asking questions. That's how we learn and grow.
That's some good advice. Now, before we wrap up, don't forget we have a whole blog post about this. You can find the link in the episode description.
And if you want to learn more about like health and beauty stuff, we have a whole other podcast on YouTube.
And if you're liking this deep dive, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new episodes.
All right, so we talked about the big ideas, but now I want to get into some specifics, you know? Let's look at some of these reports, the ones that seem pretty real, and see what we can find.
Sounds good to me. Let's get into it. This whole drone thing, it's really captured everyone's attention, huh?
Yeah, I think it kind of shows how much we're like drawn to mystery.
Yeah, right. Essentially, we can't explain.
And especially now with social media, all these theories just spread so fast.
It's kind of crazy, right? You got the good side, people sharing info, talking about it, but then also all that fake news, the crazy theories, it just gets mixed in with everything else.
So how do you even like tell what's real and what's not? Especially with something like this, everyone's got an opinion.
I think you got to be like your own detective almost.
Yeah.
Really look at where the info's coming from, check if there's any proof, and if it sounds like way too good to be true, it probably is.
Like, be skeptical, basically. Don't just believe everything you see. Exactly. And even if we never figure out, like, 100% for sure who's behind these drones, just thinking about it, asking the questions, that helps us get better at figuring stuff out, right?
Makes you think harder, use your brain a bit more.
Right. It's like a mental workout, you know? And it makes you think about the big picture, too. Like, technology's changing so fast. Where are we even going to be in a few years? What's that going to mean for all of us?
So it's not just about the drones. It's about, like, how we deal with all this new stuff coming at us all the time.
That's a good way to put it. And honestly, that's a skill we all need right now with all the fake news and everything.
Being able to, like, filter out the noise, figure out what's real.
Totally. That's more important than ever. So as we wrap up here, what do you want to leave people with? What's the takeaway from all this?
Be curious. Keep asking questions. Don't just take everything at face value. Do your own research.
That's it. And remember, even if you don't get all the answers, the journey's still important, you know?
Absolutely. This has been a fascinating discussion, and I hope you all learned a lot.
Yeah, this has been a blast. And if you want to keep going on this deep dive with us, hit that subscribe button for more episodes like this one.
And hey, if you're into health and beauty stuff, check out our other podcast on YouTube. It's all about that good stuff.
And for more on this drone mystery, check out our blog post. Links in the description.
All right, everybody, stay curious out there, keep learning, and keep exploring. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.